It was a normal February afternoon in 2007, and Dennis Johnson, NBA champion, Finals MVP, and respected mentor, was doing what he loved most, coaching the next generation. The gym echoed with sneakers, shouts, and the familiar rhythm of practice, all under Johnson's calm and commanding presence. But in an instant, everything shattered. In front of players and staff, the legendary figure suddenly collapsed, sending a wave of shock across the court. The room that once buzzed with energy froze as one of basketball's toughest warriors lay motionless on the hardwood. For a man known for his resilience, leadership, and iron will, his sudden fall felt unreal. People rushed to his side, calling his name, hoping he would open his eyes and crack one of his signature jokes. But the silence grew heavier with each passing second. The players who admired him not just as a coach, but as a father figure watched helplessly as paramedics fought to bring him back. At just 52 years old, Dennis Johnson's life ended in the very place he spent decades pouring his soul into, the basketball court. News of his death spread like wildfire, shaking the basketball world to its core. Legends, teammates, rivals, and fans struggled to accept that such a vibrant force could vanish so suddenly. Johnson wasn't just a champion, he was a mentor who lived for the game's future, not just its past. His loss was more than the passing of a former star. It was the silencing of a brilliant basketball mind, whose impact stretched far beyond the stat sheet. And in that moment, the world realized that even the strongest heroes are still human. Long before that tragic afternoon in 2007, Dennis Johnson's body had already endured decades of physical and emotional strain. Years of intense NBA competition had pushed his heart through countless battles, late-night games, relentless travel schedules, and the constant pressure of performing at the highest level, even in retirement. The stress never truly left him. Johnson carried the weight of being a mentor, a leader, and a former superstar expected to guide others. And while he looked strong on the outside, inside, his heart had been quietly fighting its own war. Stress also played a massive role in weakening him over time. Coaching a developing team comes with endless responsibilities, strategy, discipline, player management, and pressure to produce results. Johnson poured everything into his job, often putting his needs last. Those who worked with him recalled how dedicated he was, often staying late, barely resting, always planning the next session. That constant grind triggered silent stress on his cardiovascular system, tightening the grip around his heart with each passing year. And then there was the emotional strain. Johnson had lived through controversies, criticism, and the difficult transition from superstar to coach, a shift not every player handles easily. He always tried to stay composed, but those emotional battles settled deep inside the body, especially the heart. The burden of his past, mixed with the responsibility for his players' futures, created a pressure that was invisible but powerful. With every smile and every word of advice, Johnson hid the quiet exhaustion that grew behind the scenes. By the time 2007 arrived, the years of physical wear, emotional weight, and unrelenting dedication had caught up with him. His heart had been giving warnings he didn't hear or refused to acknowledge. So when he collapsed on that practice court, it wasn't just a sudden tragedy. It was the result of a lifetime of pushing himself harder than his body could handle. Dennis Johnson didn't die because he was weak, he died because he gave everything to the game he loved, leaving nothing for himself. That same toughness and competitive fire that shaped Dennis Johnson's playing style naturally spilled into his most intense rivalries. When a player performs with such fearless confidence and unshakable calm, that same toughness and competitive fire that shaped Dennis Johnson's playing style naturally spilled into his most intense rivalries. When a player performs with such fearless confidence and unshakable calm, he doesn't just earn respect, he attracts challengers. DJ never backed down from anyone, and opposing stars quickly learned that facing him meant entering a psychological and physical battle. His rivals knew he would study their habits, anticipate their moves, and outwork them possession after possession. This mindset, born from the same relentless traits described earlier, turned every matchup into a clash of wills. One of his most famous rivalries was with Magic Johnson, a battle that stretched across championship stages and high-pressure moments. It wasn't fueled by hatred, it was fueled by pride, skill, and the pursuit of greatness. Magic was the charismatic floor general, and Dennis was the silent assassin who tried to disrupt every pass, every rhythm, every spark of showtime. Their duels were intense, strategic, and deeply personal in their own competitive way. And just like his defensive instincts and clutch mentality, this rivalry showed how DJ elevated himself when facing the best. He also locked horns with players like Andrew Toney, the Boston Strangler, whose scoring ability forced DJ to go to another level defensively. Toney pushed him, challenged him, and forced him to bring out that fierce, disciplined edge that defined his career. These battles weren't just games, they were tests of strength, endurance, and basketball intelligence. And each rivalry revealed the same truth. Dennis Johnson was built for confrontation, forged in pressure, and strengthened by every challenge. These clashes highlight exactly why his legacy still burns bright, because he earned everything through grit, respect, and fearless competition. As we look back on Dennis Johnson's journey, it becomes clear that his story was never just about championships or statistics. It was about resilience. From a tough childhood in Los Angeles to becoming one of the most respected guards in NBA history, DJ built his life on fighting through challenges. Nothing was handed to him, everything was earned through discipline and determination. His rise from a late draft pick to an NBA Finals MVP is one of basketball's most inspiring arcs. And through every step, he proved that greatness is not born, it's built. His NBA career began quietly, but it didn't take long before the league realized what kind of competitor he was. Dennis Johnson became a defensive force, a clutch performer, and a leader whose presence was felt even when he didn't speak. His time with the Seattle SuperSonics made him a champion. His years in Phoenix sharpened his leadership, and his run with the Boston Celtics cemented his legacy forever. He was never concerned with being the star, he cared only about winning. As his career slowed down, Johnson shifted into coaching, carrying his competitive spirit and leadership into a new chapter. He was determined to teach young players the same values that shaped his life: discipline, effort, and respect for the game. Even in coaching, he worked with the same quiet intensity that defined his playing days. He wasn't just building athletes, he was shaping men, guiding them through both the sport and the struggles that came with it. Coaching wasn't just his job, it was his calling. And then, in 2007, his story took its heartbreaking final turn. The same gym atmosphere that once fueled his greatness became the backdrop of his final moments. His sudden passing shocked the sports world, leaving behind a silence that still echoes today. But even in loss, DJ's impact remained powerful. His death was tragic, but his life was unforgettable. And although he's no longer with us, his story continues to inspire athletes, fans, and dreamers around the world. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life and legacy of Dennis Johnson, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more stories about basketball's greatest legends. Drop a like, leave a comment about your favorite DJ moment, and tell us which player you want us to cover next. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories to life. Thank you for watching, and remember, legends never die, their stories just begin.